With over 12 years of IT consulting experience, Jered loves to educate IT professionals about the powerful, simple, and cost-effective solutions that Cisco has to offer, in partnership with trusted Cisco resellers like EarthBend. Jered believes in the importance of building long-term relationships based on mutual trust and respect that comes through providing timely response, sound advice, and effective solutions to customers. Torkelson recently joined Cisco Systems as a systems engineer in August of 2014. Previously, Kyle managed the networking, security, voice, and data center technologies for the University of Sioux Falls for 12 years. Kyle has an extensive knowledge of the broad Cisco product portfolio and experience within a campus environment, and is currently pursuing his CCIE routing and switching certification. Please welcome Jered and Kyle.
Okay. It's always like really awkward when you're up front, right? It's like saying all these things and you work by yourself and pretend like you don't. But I appreciate it. That was good. Actually, what I was kind of thinking is if we could just have Sophos play more videos, maybe we could just do that and just skip more stuff. So that was pretty good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys giving us a chance to speak. EarthBend, fantastic. Amazing turnout. A lot of you are customers. Appreciate that. All the business you do with Cisco is fantastic. We're going to talk through a couple things today, Kyle and I, and kind of the main focus we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk a little bit about product at the end. We're going to talk about the Cisco 2015 Mid-Year Security Report. You'll see that kind of on your table. And so basically what I would say is if this interests you, pick up a copy. We can get you some more copies. You can also download it online. But we do these security reports a year where we kind of cover just sort of what threats are out there, where we're seeing people get exposed and compromised. So there's that. And then, so I've got a couple of giveaways as well they'll do at our booth. And I know you all probably have like 20 vendor shirts. I don't have any shirts, but I thought we'd give away some that I thought was valuable. There's a couple of books I've read in the last 2 years that I thought were really good. Getting things done. These are all audio CDs too as well, so I feel like you don't have time to read. It's a fantastic book about managing your workflow. Every day my email inbox is down to 0, and most people I see have like 10,000 emails in their inbox, and so this is kind of how I did that with that. So, Kyle, how many emails in your inbox right now?
About 5.
5, okay, so maybe Kyle read the book too. And then I've got the 21 Beautiful Laws of Leadership, and then you can't see it very good, but it's Spam Nation by Brian Griff. It's a great book about just the cyber crimes out there and things like that. So we'll just give away to the desk there. So Dilbert, who here likes Dilbert? Raise your hand if you like Dilbert. Okay, fantastic. I love this this comic strip. I always include this in my security presentation. So Wally's the guy that always tries to get out and do at work, right? He says, my security software kept insisting that I download critical updates. And he says, I didn't have time to do all that, and I couldn't risk using my computer without the critical updates. It was a no-win situation. And then, point of your boss, did you accomplish anything this week? Well, like, what part of no-win is confusing to you? So it's funny, but at the same time, it's also relevant to where we are, right? You have users that they have to patch their stuff in order to do their work, but yet they don't want to take the time to patch it, and they become vulnerable. And so one solution, I guess, is to not work, but I don't know if that would get you very far there. So I don't need to spend a lot of time here on the why security slide. I think all of us as security practitioners or you as security practitioners get this. The exciting thing about being security right now is that it's never been bigger, obviously, than it has right now with all the breaches and the news stories and things like that. But it's a great opportunity for us to go to the boardroom level and request the stuff that we've been trying to get done for the last 10 years. It seems like 3, 4, 5 years ago, you try to tell executives, hey, these are the areas that we need to invest in from a security perspective, and they'd be like, yeah, it's just the risk mitigation, we don't really care. And now we're seeing even like the CFO, CEO level, CIO, et cetera, going in and saying, hey, the top thing we want to invest in this year is security. And it's kind of a cool thing right now. And then I know my buddy Jordan loves this one too, that the latest one this week was the iOS App Store was hit by a malware attack. Because I was giving a hard time that with an iPhone, that it's always safe. But apparently the iPhone's no longer safe either. So the deal is that malware's coming out everywhere. We gotta respond to that. I think this is a really good slide too, because a lot of times in South Dakota we sit here and think, well, I'm down here in South Dakota, this stuff doesn't apply to me, I'm not a big financial institution, I'm not a big retailer, nobody cares about me. What we found actually was the National Cybersecurity Alliance had a study that showed that 41% of cyber attacks, the slides are coming through, so we're getting there, but 41% of the cyber attacks were focused on organizations with fewer than 500 employees. So don't think that you're too small that you're going to avoid being attacked. Because a lot of times the bad guys see small organizations as factors into larger networks, so they're going after small and large alike. In our security report, we just talked about some of the changes in attack behavior. We'll hit on kind of the different pieces of malware and exploit kits that cause that, and speed, agility, adaptability, and destruction. And so now we're at kind of this paradox in terms of where we are, right? We have these well-established players, and I know Cisco in terms of the deal there. You've got niche players kind of over on the right, and as customers, we're kind of caught in between, right? So we have to decide. We've got which vendors do we invest in, and we can just patch the security hole with this niche product, but they need to talk. And so one thing Kyle will talk a little bit is that as a security industry in general, we just need to do a better job of sharing information and having our devices talk amongst each other. And certainly Cisco is definitely committed to that. A lot of our technologies are based on open source technologies, and we're trying to create more of a community that's talking and create a dialogue kind of back and forth. So this is what we're talking about today. Again, it's just a little about Cisco threat intelligence, our time to detection, and how it compares with the industry, a review of the top threats, and then Kyle's going to talk about our integrated threat defense story. So Cisco Talos, who's here has heard of Cisco Talos? Raise your hand. I'm expecting very few of you to raise it, but that's okay. Who's here of Cisco Security Intelligence Operation or SourceFire BRT? Raise your hand if you've heard of those. Okay. So those are basically we have a security group called Talos, which is a combination of SourceFire's BRT Vulnerability Research Team and Cisco SIO Solutions Intelligence Operations Center. We purchased SourceFire about 2 years ago, correct? I think that's about right. Yep. About 2 years ago, we combined those security intelligence operations, and basically it's a group within Cisco. It's not a product that you can buy. It's just a group of people that do threat intelligence and research, and they take data, they take telemetry information, and they push that out, and it makes our products better, makes our reputation scores better, et cetera. The interesting thing about this is some of the facts about how big this organization is. We do 4.2 billion blocked web requests per day, which is more than Google searches per day in the world. We block 2.5 million spam threats per second, or 260 million per day. This is one of the more interesting things. We're seeing 1.1 million new malware samples every day, which is incredible when you think about that, 1.1 million. And one of the reasons why our time to detection is getting better and better is because we're taking the new malware samples and we're feeding that information to our advanced malware protection product, and that's what makes it better. So we use this data basically to protect our customers, and then also we feed that information, get that information out to the industry as a whole. If you go to blogs.cisco.com/Talos, there's a really good blog, and they talk a lot about latest threats and things on there and what they're up to. Real quick, I'm going to say too, this is probably something to write down, so if you don't hear anything that Kyle and I say today, there's a really good podcast called Cisco Champion Radio, and if you want to learn more about Talos, they've got about a 50-minute podcast there. There's also a podcast on our mid-year security report, the thing on the table, on our annual security reports. We get a Cisco Champion Radio in the podcast with Apple, and so it's free. It's a great way to learn about what we're doing from a technology perspective. So one of the interesting things that Talos did was, everyone here has heard of ransomware. Raise your hand, you know what ransomware is. CryptoLocker, okay, right? So CryptoLocker came out, and it was really, really bad, right? Because once you got infected, you were basically hosed. You had your two options were pay the ransom fee or you had a backup, right? Because your files were encrypted, they could not be encrypted. There was another one that came out after that botnet got shut down and CryptoLocker was no longer around. And it was a ransomware called TeslaCrypt, and TeslaCrypt basically said, we use the same encryption as CryptoLocker, so your host still pays the money. Well, we actually, our Talos people looked at the file structure of TeslaCrypt, and we said, no, it's not the same. And we actually found out that it was not using strong encryption, and we wrote a decryption key for it. So if anyone's had their stuff infected by TeslaCrypt, we actually posted the tool to unencrypt the files. And then the interesting thing is on our blog, normally you get somewhere between, say, 2 to 7 comments on a blog, not a lot. There was like 215 comments when we posted the TeslaCrypt code, to decrypt those files. So one of the things that we do, and that's not something we charge for, it's just something that we're out there trying to help the industry. So it's a little visual here from what Talos is doing, but it's Rex Kwando is not necessarily our official spokesperson, but I like him. Getting 4.2 billion malicious web requests around house kicked in the face every day. If you've seen the coins, I might get that. If not, you're like, who is this guy? So at the time detection in the industry right now is the average from the industry perspective is 200 days. That means the time that the file came on my network and then it was detected as malicious. So 200 days is the average time of detection for the industry, which, as you probably know, is very, very bad. At Cisco, we got this down to 46 hours, and with some of the tools that Kyle will talk about. And then I just put a big, it's supposed to be red, but anyway, it came out black. It's a big red line through that. That's not good enough, right? 46 hours isn't good enough. A lot of times the bad guys are taking your information the first couple of hours before you get in there. So here's a little bit about what we're seeing in terms of the industry here and what's going on. Okay, none of the slides are built out here correctly. So this is tough. Like it doesn't see the red on the slides. Well, anyway, so I'm going to just go through this anyway. So Angler, now it's coming out, okay. So Angler is this piece of malware that's out there right now. And a couple things to know is that the penetration rate of Angler, it infects web pages. And the attack rate now is hitting successful about 40% of the time when people come to their pages, versus last year it was 20%, so the attack vector is certainly increasing. They use a bunch of, we say agility with Angler, there's a bunch of different technologies that it's using. Kyle, if you want to kind of talk about
it scans a lot with Flash, and so it's not just looking at one particular vulnerability within Flash. It has the intelligence to look at, there's like, what, 62 or 64 known, exploits within Flash. And basically, pick and choose which one it wants to use and sort of how to inject itself into it. And basically be in the infection process.
Yeah, and they use some strategies like IP changing, domain shadowing, things like that, a little bit more complicated description in terms of what those are doing. But then also one of the payloads it drops is ransomware. So if it gets on an infection stuff, it can drop ransomware out there as well. So Angler's a real bad one that's been out there, and it's been very, very successful. And like Kyle talked about, it really what Angler's been doing, it's been exploiting the vulnerabilities in Flash. I wanted to say Java, because like Java used to be like the bad one, right? And the funny thing is now, and this is how the bad guys have gotten like so good, is that it used to be if you just disable Java, right, then you're good and you weren't going to get infected. Well, what they basically figured out was everyone's disabling Java and no one's using it anymore. So now they're going to start, they're going to go after Flash, right? So Flash is the big one from this last year. And basically this slide just talks about how if you look at, the update was published and then, the vulnerability was found out and the update was published and then people are patching much, much later. The deal is you got to patch your stuff, otherwise you're going to be vulnerable. Round-tick is an especially bad one right here. It's all about destruction, and basically it moves to steal data, and then also it's detected it'll destroy the targeted system. So round-tick is a real bad one. It gains access via spam and phishing, social engineering. One of the ways that it needs detection, so round-tick, if it goes into a sandbox and we're trying to find out what it is, it'll actually execute 960 million lines of code to memory. So basically it's just sending all this crap information out, sending a bunch of photos, a bunch of file information just to try to basically slow you down and make it so that you can't detect what it's really doing. And then what it'll actually do is that if it detects that it's trying to be analyzed, it'll destroy the master boot right of your machine. So not only, so it's like, okay, great, I found out it's malicious, and then it found out that you found out it was malicious, and then it killed you, basically your machine. Well, not you, your machine. That was maybe a little destructive. So you're talking about the vulnerabilities. Just kind of going to get through a couple of these and talk about malvertising before. As far as when we're seeing the attacks, you'll notice Java is declining slightly. PDF stuff kind of goes up and down. Silverlight was a big spike we saw in our annual security report from 2015 at the beginning of the year. Big spike in the Silverlight attacks. And then Flash is the big one right now. A lot of that is due to, Angler. Again, we've seen this evolution of ransomware going after data and then now the systems we're talking about. And basically, it's going after photos, personal files, financial data, etc. This is a great example of why I need to do a better job of even just like backing up like my family photos. I don't do that enough. And I'm always like, oh, my computer will never die, right? It's a brand new computer. Well, your stuff can get encrypted. I'm just kind of curious if you're willing to raise your hand, maybe you don't, but how many you've seen or know someone that got affected by ransomware in the last couple of years? Raise your hand. Yeah, I mean, it's significant, right? I mean, it's a big, big problem. And basically, the interesting thing about ransomware, of course, is that the bad guys have done their research, right? They always want to charge just enough to make the money, but not too much that you won't pay or call law enforcement, right? So it's that $300 to $500 range is their goal. It's interesting. I'd like to hear from the rest of the security people who will be up here, but from mostly what the industry says in the security world is don't pay the ransom. Basically, it's have a backup, right? Because once you pay the ransom, they basically say that you're telling all the bad guys, hey, come get me, right? Because I'll pay you. So that's interesting. I don't know if you guys are hearing the same thing or not. Maybe you're hearing the rest of the folks are saying. And then we got keep calling backup data, right? Because the deal is have a backup and don't have it attached to your PC. Like I was reading one thing where a guy had a mirror hard drive on his PC. Well, that deal will have good because all it's captured. So Drivex, another attack that came out, and this is particularly bad when it comes to email, and Drivex is all about fast moving, and basically what happened is the campaign would start and end within about a 9-hour period before AD signatures could be written to stop it, so it's moving very, very fast. And it's, Drivex is the macro one? Yeah, it's the macro one. So the funny thing is that when was it, 10 years ago, right? We used to see phishing deals to try to exploit macros, right? Everyone remembers that one from years ago? Well, that came back now, and so Drivex does, the email goes out, I send the email to Kyle, he tries to open the file can't be opened, it says, hey, turn your macros on, and open it again, and then you can open the file. So unsuspecting Kyle turns his macros on, right? He's not very cautious. And so Kyle opens the file, and now he's infected by that. So, again, very, very fast moving, trying to get ahead of it. I'm going to skip that one. This is kind of interesting to me too, malware on a global scale. This is just based on the number of servers that are out there approximately, and the amount of attacks we're seeing from the various web servers that are out there. I just think it's kind of funny that France sucks at security. So. And then China, China's kind of expected, right? There's a lot of stuff going on over there. And then Hong Kong, I guess, got off pretty good. And basically what this is saying, it's not saying this is where the attackers reside, it's saying this is where the compromised servers reside that are actually carrying out the attacks. If you look at the United States, we're actually doing pretty well as opposed to the rest of the world. Again, we talked about the time detection of 200 days versus 46 hours. And a little bit about how we're doing this. There's a third-party audit called NSX Labs. They did a breach detection report where they talk about who's the most effective at finding out that you had a breach, and that's how we get that down to 46 hours. As we find out, we know that the compromises are going to happen. We're seeing our customers be compromised. No matter what they have in the gateway, no matter what they have for antivirus, no matter what they have for IPS, compromises are going to happen. And the deal is then, how quickly can you find it, right? And so this breach detection report showed that we're the most effective. Newsflash here, we're not the lowest cost. But at the same time, Cisco AMP was the only product that detected 100% of the malware evasion techniques. And then the last one is don't buy FireEye, right? They were less than 55% effective. FireEye's not here, so I can pick on them, so. And then like we say, my other mentor, Ricky Bobby, says, okay, first you last, right? So, I get like a couple more laughs than that. I'm proud here. All right, Kyle, thank you for this great presentation. Yeah. Ready, how are we doing time-wise? 10 minutes, good. All right.
So again, kind of like what they talked about earlier too, another is just, right now the security kind of landscape is all these different point products. This product does this product does this, right? And you got logs, you got debugs, you got all this kind of stuff, right? How do you coordinate it? How does that help you find, to lower that 200 days to the 46 hours, right? So that's kind of the real, and then I said earlier too, is kind of neat is we need to get to a point where we are sharing more of this, logs, data, whatever, in order to do these analytics.
I didn't tweet it. I'm trying to win the prize, Kyle. That's vendors can win the prize, right?
So again, the way that we're building these point solutions is we're going after, okay, I know this search product does this, but I know I can get around this because, right, the industrialization of hacking, we're going to do a malware test, kind of a mentality. Like we're gonna buy what this company uses and we're going to test against it to see what our malware or what we can do to mate it, and then we're going to go deploy it, right? That's kind of whether you pick Home Depot, Target, whatever, right? You pick any of those, right? They had the software they were using, or they hadn't upgraded to the latest version that they were supposed to be using, and so that's how they were able to kind of compromise that.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things from the 2015 report too, Kyle, that we talked about was that I think it was less than 50% of the tools are being used by security practitioners. So that's kind of on us, right? So we're telling our organization to go out and buy all this stuff, and then we're not even using the tools. And actually, that's a lot of what we've seen too in terms of a lot of the big new stuff was they had a lot of the tools and just didn't use them, they didn't talk together. But some of that comes down to is that what we also found, I think it was the mid-year, the average customer has between 30 to 60 security vendors, or we just take the average of 45 security vendors in our environment. Well, how do you manage 45 different relationships? And then also there's a shortage of security people. I mean, there's a big time shortage in terms of that. We're seeing that across the industry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I mean, you think about just your regular day job, now okay, I'm going to add these few more products to do this. You're probably not adding more people, so it's more on you to do, right? So it's just tougher and tougher to keep up with the pace of it. And that's kind of how these exploits are happening. Is the agility and the speed is like, let's get in, get the data, and get out, right? Like he said earlier, 9 hours. Never been seen before, 9 hours, never been seen after. It's kind of hard to write signatures and stuff like that in order to get that speed. So again, 200 days. You're basically trying to use whatever you can to do. So that's kind of the overarching, kind of like the future goal is like with Cisco. It's like, how do we have an integrated threat events, dashboard, management console, whatever you want to call it, where all these different things can feed into it, right? And so, a good example is just, Marty Rush, Snort, open source. He's now our lead security architect, right? So we feel like we're on the right path to do that. So. There you go. So, and again, we have, this is our kind of security strategy before, during, and after. So we have different, products handled before, during, and the after compromise. And so we have, and a lot of these will tie, with advanced network protection, our AMP product, that is a product that can basically feed into, email security, web security, source firewalls. It goes on endpoint. So a lot of different ways to deploy it. You have a network, you have a gateway, you can also be inline, and IPS also. So.
Yeah, just as Kyle said about the whole thing of the strategy again, before, during, and after. A lot of people focus on the before, the during, but the after kind of a tool to clean things up. And the advanced hour piece, the breach detection piece, is really what allows you to help clean up from that.
Yeah, there's a pretty good, I can say that there's a school out in Texas that basically they bought endpoint for all their students. And they basically said, this is the #1 best we can do to give our students so that they are compromised or to try to hedge it off at the beginning, right? So it's right on the website. We provide this fire endpoint client for this very reason. And we had tremendous success with it.
But students who never run malware.
So here, we talked a little bit about our next gen firewall, ASA, 5500X series. We do multiple different. Whether it's URL filtering, whether it's advanced network protection, whether it's next gen IPS, right? Or ABC, just looking at what the traffic is. Because again, next gen firewall, as soon as you have this term next gen firewall, what does that mean? I gotta let the traffic through because I gotta see what it is, right? Well, you just let something through, you don't know what it was, right? So we have to be able to now go back and see, okay, what was it? And now, was it malicious at the time, or did it later on turn malicious? And we have some tools built into SourceFire and FireSite that basically let you see network trajectory, right? Okay, this file was downloaded by this PC with this browser, this time. Now, okay, it was not malicious at the time, but now we've also sent the copy up to the cloud because that's where we have our sandbox, and we unpack it, we analyze it, see what it does. Later on, if we determine it is malicious, now we can go back and say, point in time, we know how that was. Now we know that file also traverses itself to the network trajectory, is what we call it, and it copied itself and found 5 other friends, right? And with our tools, we can kind of help, limit and mitigate that. So. And again, according to NSS Labs, which is, they don't necessarily ask you for your gear. Like if you won't give it to them, they go and just get it. This is third party, so it's not, Gartner is more qualitative, and NSS Labs is more quantitative.
We should have got some big foam figures to hand out.
Yeah, that was a
big mistake. Missed opportunity there.
And we have this concept of impact flags. So basically, say, if you have 10,000 IP estimates, do you really have the time to look at all of them? No, like you got to categorize it. You got to look and see, what are the top 10 hitters as far as these are the ones I got to look at. And we can narrow 10,000 down to 1 to 2 to 3, depending on your organization, a day. And that's much more manageable, depending on your staff and the amount of time that you have to do everything else in your day.
Right. A lot of people are seeing thousands of IP estimates. What do you do with that day? There's nothing you can do with that, right? You can't sift through thousands of them once a day. So we give you this deal that says, hey, impact flag 1, this is the thing you should really care about and address. And that's really why our IPS has been so successful. A lot of people adopt it just because it takes out all the noise and allows you to focus on the stuff that I really should care about. Yep.
And then Fireside, which is our dashboard, source fire, learns your network, right? So it sits there, and as the traffic comes in and out, right, we start to determine, okay, this is a Windows host, okay, this is a Linux host, okay, this is a Mac. I know they're vulnerable to this, this vulnerability. Okay, you do or you don't have SQL servers on your network. Okay, I'm not going to run you through a bunch of IPS signatures for SQL if I do or don't know if you have it on your network. So it learns your network, and again, you can run this basically Fireside recommendation. You can run it daily, weekly, however often you want to run it. And it kind of tunes itself to your network, so we're kind of the most efficient, most effective as far as what we are looking at and what we're going to build out with you.
Just talks about, you have the different policies and the recommended rules. Keep it. Yeah. Boom. And then basically all you do is it goes and it learns it. You just say, oh, I'm going to put these changes, or why not? And you can commit, and it does a lot of stuff for you. So Kyle, one of the things I was saying that we'll leave with you too is to kind of go here. Work with the EarthBend folks. Kyle's got a demo virtual IPS security appliance with the advanced malware stuff and the IPS on, as well as the management console. A few of you, I think even here, we've done an install. We just do it, put it in passive mode. We just observe what's going on in the network, and then we give you some reports back. So a lot of times the organization, you go and say, hey, I want to buy this IPS, and management goes, well, it's 50 grand. I'm not buying that. Like, what does it get me? Okay, well, we go out and do a demo, put it in your environment, and then we find some additional stuff. So Kyle's done it for 3 customers the last couple of weeks. We can certainly do that for any of you. Again, just work with the EarthBend folks, and they can help schedule us. But Kyle, talk about what you have these 3 customers. We're not going to name names. Don't worry.
Don't name change correctly. Basically, we can set this on your network. It's just passive. It's just a span port of your internet traffic. So we just give you a copy of it, and we'll just run it through our analytics, and we'll give you a week or 2 weeks at the very most, and we'll give you some really good deliverables. These are just some screenshots of Fireside, but basically you can see we have a couple web servers talking about command and control in Ukraine. That we determined where it was, basically doing our malware cloud lookup and said, yeah, that actually was, malicious. You see like AST toolbar, but we also know like AST toolbar has somebody else took the file, modified it, added some characters at the end, basically making malware. So, those are different tactics that, some hackers may use to try to just how do we get by. Okay, so took the same name, but slightly different, and see if we can pass. So, that here too.
Yeah, and get back to the patching thing, because there's 23 outdated browsers. Our industry report from January found that about 10% of Microsoft Internet Explorer browsers were current and patched. It's like 10%, so 90% were not, and they were vulnerable. So that's one of the things that's kind of scary. Just know, a patch is, not anything from us, patch your stuff, right? That's going to help you.
Yeah, and that's without an agent, without anything on the computer at all. Like that's just looking at the web request, we're looking at the browser string data to see what it is. So those outdated browsers were like, I5, 67 on these customers, so they just didn't know they were still somewhere. And, Firefox, 10 or 12, or early versions of Chrome or Safari. Same with 33 total of our host connects to command control. And again, 32 different types of malware downloaded just with those 3 customers.
I think we're about out of time too.
Yep. So we're going to talk about we got a sandbox, the advanced malware protection. So it's just our sandbox that we do it on all different products, endpoint, gateway, IDS ideas. And then also OpenDNS. I don't know if you need to use it, but I use it at home. We just recently acquired OpenDNS, but again, why not? Eventually, you download this malware, let's say it gets through, it's got a full home. Well, it's going to use the DNS lookup to go do that. So let's use the intelligence from OpenDNS, right? Let's use that and say, if we know this is malicious or bad, ID, lookup, well, don't respond to it. Send them a portal page, send them to whatever, right? So again, it's free account, you can send it from home, and I'll have a business, we bought OPS, now we have, an enterprise solution for you as well. So again, this is free. And again, you can, this is just from my own, you can see, the main people are going to, you can see Apple, you can see whatever, Google, Rocky. Just visibility into it, right? And then you also see, they're just easy stuff you can turn on, phishing protection, suspicious responses or malware, the violent kind of stuff, command and control. So, again, that's free, it's just easy to go with.
So, just real quick in the conclusion from the report, again, adversaries are refining their capability and their avoid detection. Point solutions create those weak points. We've got to do a better job of talking amongst ourselves in the industry and also in our own products. As part of the acquisition for the Open DNS is getting more threat intelligence to tell us so we can then bolster our products. Work with the security partner to learn more. This is our booth to learn more. We'll be hanging out. Read the annual security report, the video security report. The Cisco Champions Radio is a great place to go out and learn as well. Stop by the booth, fill out a card, win something, and thanks again for coming. Appreciate it.